I'm not against my brothers and sisters, motivational speakers, success coaches, transformational leaders, pastors, teachers, and our parents. But the life that we are living, or era that we are in, now we need to tell the truth like it is. Stop, introspect, evaluate, and ask yourself is this the truth? Today, I'm going to talk about the other side of the coin, life, road, and success. The side we normally don't talk about and don't really want to hear, which they never told us. I hope this piece that I'm going to share with you today is going to help, because in life, not all days are the same. A wise man once said, life has got 3 stages. It's either you're entering into a situation, you are in the middle of a situation, you are coming out of a situation. The only part they told us about life is work hard and you'll be successful. Work hard and you'll make it. Start a business and you'll be financially independent. Pray and God will answer you. Read and you'll pass. Go to school and you'll find a good job. Go to gym and you lose weight. But wait, is that true? In Shona, hapana akambotuza kuti ukaona usiri kusangana na Satan, you're going the same direction. They never told us that the moment you decide to say, let me have an impact in this world, the very same moment, expect enemies. They never told us, as long as you're moving, you'll be attacked. As long as you're moving, you'll be fought. They never told us they will come after your success, gifts, ministry, and even your name. They never told us that the moment you start building and moving your life, that's when life challenges start to rise against you. They never told us that the reason why we are praised by challenging is because our life is going somewhere. They never told us that people won't praise you as long as you're doing nothing. Newspapers won't write stuff about you as long as you're doing nothing. People won't gossip about you as long as you're doing nothing. They never told us that the moment you move, something happens. They never told us that there are people competing with us silently, that in this life, you only have haters and enemies as long as your life is moving. The moment you start moving, you will start losing relatives and friends. They never told us to respect failure as much as we respect success. They never told us that if we find failures we have become successful, we need to respect them. They never told us that we should fear people who have not failed. They never told us that we should fail enough to be successful. They never told us that when the devil ignores you, then you're probably doing something wrong. They never told us that when the devil comes at you, maybe you're trying to do something right. They never told us that the process of getting our God is not that easy. They never told us that you might not get what you expect. They never told us that the road to success is curvy. They never told us that every problem has got an expiry date. They never told us that a man's treasure is seen when he's under pressure. They never told us that the road to success is often filled with bumps, turns, potholes, accidents, harms, twists. They never told us that it's a road paved with failure. They never told us that we should learn from our mistakes. They never told us that the best lessons in our lives comes through failure. They never told us that failure teaches us things that can be taught by a textbook or a lecture. They never told us that failure is an essential part of the road to success. They never told us that without failure, we wouldn't know the true meaning of success. They never told us that failure teaches important lessons and helps us to grow. They never told us that every successful person once faced failure at some point in their journey, and it's what made them stronger. They never told us that when God favors you, the devil will favor you as well. They never told us that the devil doesn't waste resources on people who are doing nothing. They never told us to know your size, check your battles. They never told us that the greater the level, the greater the devil. They never told us that the greater the attack, the greater the testimony. Yes, they told us that if you go to school and read, you become a doctor, nurse, teacher, accountant, economist, journalist. But they never told us that sometimes you go for sleepless nights trying to get what you're reading, but siri kupinda. Sometimes we will go to chikoro, wodzingirwa school fees. Sometimes we go to school, usina chekudya and chekupfeka futi ikoko. And sometimes you repeat your grade 7, O level, or even at university level because the journey is not easy. Yes, it's true. Ukaenda kuchikoro uchaita izo, but they never told us that after those 17 years of learning, you can be reduced to a vendor. Not that it's bad, but ndizvo here zvawaida. They never told us that yes, going to church and praying is good, but it's not as easy as you think. Sometimes uchavunzwa kuti hamusima kunyanya kunamata here, ko Mwari wacho ari kupi, ko madii mambochinja chechi oro mufundisi zvinhu zvisiri kufaya. Yes, they told us that starting a business and investment is the beginning of coming out of poverty and become financially independent. Yes, they told us entrepreneurship would be our own bosses, but they never told us that we would fail many times before we succeed. They never told us that we would work 5 times more than our employees and not get anything sometimes. They never told us that this would cripple our credit score, that we would be in debt and owe a lot of people money. No one told us about the sleepless night trying to figure out a way forward. No one told us about the stress and anxiety. They never told us that business is harder than working for someone, but it pays more than working for someone. No one told us that we would be jokes to the society, especially when we start changing from one business to another. No one told us that sometimes we'll go 6 months without any income, living in the age and surviving through borrowing money from different people. No one told us that our doors will be shut down due to failure to pay staff. No one told us that this will cause conflicts between us, our relatives, and our family members. No one told us that our wives and girlfriends would leave us because they will not understand our journey. No one told us that we will have to be more than patient, that we would make so many mistakes and end up losing a lot of money, that at some point we would have to risk our lives in order to move forward. We had to figure this out all by ourselves. Many gave up on the journey, some died on the journey. They never told us that if you want to have what the majority of people don't have, you have to be willing to do what the majority of people don't do. They never told us that if you want something you have never heard, you have to do something you have never done. They never told us that if you don't get results, change the strategy. They never told us that life is hard but not impossible. They never told us that we all have problems. They never told us that we don't live for people, but we must learn to live with people. They never told us that people want us to make it, but not to be better than them. They never told us that some people will never open doors for us because they're afraid that we will be better than them. They never told us that sometimes in this journey to success, tinotombofunga kuzviuraya and sometimes question God, why tiri panyika pano. They never told us that at some point in this journey, we'll reach a point where we blame God and doubt God, zvinhu zvaoma. They never told us that at some point on this journey, we would be asked, kuti wakambodzidzirei? They never told us that people will say, siya business, marriage and relationship yacho kana zvichinetsa. They never told us that usually people don't get married to the ones they really love. They never told us that people, they love us, but they have to wait for us to die. They never told us, neither revealed to us how people are. They never told us or enlightened us on the stumbling blocks we would encounter along the way. They never told us that people will never share their failures on social media, but will only share their successes. They never told us that people would create stories and come for our lives. They never told us that people will be after the things we value the most. They never told us that we need to be aware that the world is not as it seems and the news is not as we read it. They never told us that the media will give its own perception, but that will not be the reality. What is being celebrated is not the best, and those that seem to be ahead are actually not. They never told us that people will leave us. They never told us that people will fight us for no reason. They never told us people will wish us dead. They never told us that we should investigate people before we bring them in our lives. They never told us that the relationship should be defined. They never told us that usually our Judas Iscariot are those close to us. They never told us failure is the breakfast of champions. They never told us that in this life we should move in silence and never tell people what we are doing so that people won't know where to attack, and even if you achieve it, stay silent and move on to the next thing. They never told us that failure is feedback that you are trying. There is pain designed by God to bring something good in our lives. They never told us that my cousins that tirikurara share now same blankets, but together eat in same plate in the future. They never told us that some of these childhood friends in the future they would be ignoring us. They never told us that some of these relatives they will stop loving us. They never told us that our own they'll visit our business when they don't have money to buy it. But kuti vakwerete, asi kana vanaye they buy to strangers. They never told us that in this life you will be supported and raised by strangers more than our own. They never told us that unogona kutofa nenzara asi musi werufu vanotobatanidza a lot of food but uri mupenyu vaisazviita. They never told us that people won't even visit us when we are alive, but when we die, they will travel journeys untold to bury us. They never told us that negative moves faster than positive. They never told us that people would be proud of us when we make it, and it negata ana homi, bestie, wangu, fem, uncle, and mine, as at the bottom they were nowhere to be found. They never told us we only had to discover this on our way to the top. They never told us that those that are willing to take failure head on and learn from it will ultimately reach their destiny. Chavakangotiudza is kurauone, but what are we supposed to see? The road to success is called failure.